networks like Sweden are looking at issuing a central bank digital currency. It would still be government currency. It would still be government currency, but the public would have access directly to central bank reserves, and in Sweden, you wouldn't just rely on the commercial banks. So that would be competition from the commercial
Final word,
banks.
Ms. Pisser?
Exactly the point. I think that we should think about the form, which could be crypto, but it could also be issued by a public agent, such as a central bank.
Thank you. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Looking around, is there anyone else that seeks recognition? I think not. And let me just say to the committee how grateful we are that you have come today and you have spent time and you have helped us to formulate questions in the way that you have shared information with us. And so we're very appreciative from both sides of the aisle. And while we normally do not do this, for the few of us that are here, I'm going to break another rule. Can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And prior to leaving, we're going to take another action we don't normally take, but I would yield 5 minutes to the ranking member for a close.
Well, we're each getting 5 minutes for closing.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just to be clear. So the M1 supply of money in the United States is approximately $4 trillion. 3.8 to $4 trillion. We're talking about a private currency that has, 1 to 2 billion users that could potentially use this product. So I don't know how history is going to judge this hearing. I fear not well, though. There's a breathlessness to the hyperventilation about Facebook. I get that. We've seen that. We've seen that because of their use of data, consumer data. We've seen that because of how they responded as well. But there's something additional here, which is that people fear something they don't understand. Facebook is using the language of cryptocurrency and digital currency. They're using the words of blockchain technology. But what they've created is actually perfectly not either. They're creating something different. So, but there is this underlying fear among policymakers here on the Hill because they don't understand cryptocurrency and digital assets. That's my fear, is this will not wear well historically. The concerns raised, the questions raised. And it's because politicians, when they don't understand innovation, they want to kill it. There's a reaction and a quick response to it. So we've even had folks on the hearing today who actually used the very quote that I was talking about, the hyperventilating nature of the headlines around Project Libra, and actually more broadly about cryptocurrency. I opened with that, and we had a member later use the exact same quote as a knock against Project Libra. We also had a member of the committee speak of this as a terrorist act, as one of the worst moments in the history of the last generation, an attack on our country, and liken Project Libra to that. I don't think this is going to wear well. Now, there are legitimate concerns about this, and I think of substance, I think that will wear well, and including what this panel has said. But there are massive forces of play, massive skepticism of Facebook, that's clear. There are also massive anti-competitive forces at play. So if you want a lower cost of payment, domestically and globally, we need innovation. It is absurdly high for somebody to remit money back to their family at home. Absurdly high. Now, we don't want terrorism financing. We want those important protections. But we also want that immigrant to be able to send their money to their loved ones, or for somebody to be able to move their money more readily and more cheaply. We want those innovations. So we need a new framework to do that. We have a technology here that is going to do that, and it has this great opportunity to do that. So we want to ensure people are protected, in particular consumers. But you can't knock every new innovation because it's a new idea. And you cannot ban a new idea from even pursuing the regulatory framework to operate. That is absurd. It is wrong. But what I think this hearing does, and I think the discussion by our governments around Project Libra, highlights the nature and the utility of cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, in particular Bitcoin. And as I said earlier, due to the nature of the technology of Bitcoin, governments cannot kill it, nor should they. And you can't kill digital currencies broadly. They will be enduring, they will be strong. That is the new framework of the next generation of the internet. That is clear. And in a generation, I hope that there are some statements here today that will still be pointed to as factual and correct about what we will live through in this iteration of financial technology. And I hope there won't be much that is laughed at in 30 years. My fears, however, are that the reactionary element that was brought up here today, in part, will be dealt with great disdain after the next generation of internet technology. I do think, though, however, it was a really good hearing because we now have before Congress a deeper understanding about these digital assets and the breathtaking speed at which the world is changing and how we have to catch up. And with that, thank you, Chairwoman Waters, for the opportunity to close, and thank you for hosting today's hearing.
Thank you very much, Mr. McHenry. Allow me to begin my close with the fact that our members did an extraordinary job today. Both sides of the aisle came well prepared to ask significant questions. As a matter of fact, I believe that we had members on our committee today that went a lot deeper than many of those observing what took place today ever expected them to do. So I'm very pleased of the interest. I'm also very pleased that we had some of our members saying that this was the most significant hearing we've had since the last election, and this committee was reorganized. And so I'm very pleased about that. Let me just say, I'm so pleased about the panel that's here today. This is a panel that we absolutely needed to have here. We don't know what it is. And when I first saw the white paper unveiled, I went into almost a state of shock. I could not believe what I was seeing, that this massive effort was underway, and we didn't know what it is, what it was, where it was going, how it was organized, who owns it, all of that. And so I determined as the chair of this committee that we were going to move on it right away, that we were going to hold a hearing, that we were going to get involved in this and not wait until destruction takes place. As a matter of fact, you heard some of our members today talked about, I think it was Mr. Meeks, he never envisioned what was going to happen in 2008 with that subprime meltdown that we had, with our financial institutions basically hitting the dust and leaving everybody hanging, and all of the harm that was done to our constituents and communities where foreclosures took place and people had been involved in signing on the dotted line to mortgages that they didn't understand. We don't intend for that to happen with this. We are going to put the time in on it, and we are going to learn a lot more about where all of the money is, who makes all of the money, and how it is done. When we say we don't know what it is, we don't know if it's a bank, if it's just a transmitter of payments, what it is, we're going to find out. This representation that the association, I believe, is working as a nonprofit. No corporations this big and this powerful works as a nonprofit without making a lot of money. And while I am very appreciative for the fact that it has been represented, that this is all about servicing the unbanked. Sounds good? Well, I'm very appreciative for the fact that somehow Libra is going to solve all of the problems of the dollar, because the dollar is just not functional. The last time I had one in my pocket, it worked very well. And so I'm not only focused on it, and our members are vitally interested in it. I think we sent a message today. I think we sent a message that no matter how big and no matter how powerful Facebook and all those who are aligned with Facebook and this association think they are, and how they have advanced, in our society in ways that they've collected huge data, and how they have been using that data and how they sell that data and how they plan perhaps to sell even more data. I think we sent a message to them today that we are focused. We're focused, we're watching, we're on it, we're involved in it. We're going to use all of our time learning everything we can about it. And for those who say that we don't have an appreciation for innovation, that's not true. We have an appreciation for innovation, but we don't have an appreciation for those who have something masked simply as innovation that is a global effort for control of a currency, of a cryptocurrency. And so, again, I thank the members of this committee from both sides of the aisle. I thank our panel. And I even thank Mr. Marcus for coming and attempting to answer the questions that we were giving to him. He didn't answer my question about whether or not he would support a moratorium, and certainly he didn't answer the question about whether or not there should be a regulator of any kind, and certainly not FSOC, that could oversee them. And so even though a lot of the questions were skirted, it has been suggested that certainly we should have more hearings, and we should get Mr. Zuckerberg here himself. I'm with that. Thank you very much for being here. And let me just say that we have some information that we have to share with you before you leave. That's called adjournment information without objection. All members will have 5 days within which to submit additional written questions for the witnesses to the chair, which will be forwarded to the witnesses for their response. I ask our witnesses to please respond as promptly as you're able. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days within which to submit extraneous materials to the chair for inclusion in the record. And with that, this committee and this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.